All right, welcome to Mac Group. We're recording. So let me answer your question first of all. For those of you who didn't hear the question was um, those little squares we see that look just like this. You see them in magazines, you see them on billboards, you walk by them all the time. You even now see them on TV, you see them on YouTube videos. First of all, what are they? What are they for? Where do you get the app to read them? What's a good app to read them? Let's answer all of the above. So the technical term for these is they're called QR codes. And what a QR code was designed to do, and you've seen this all the time, before QR codes, what would they put on the billboard? A website. So people would have to remember to either write down the URL to that website or take a picture of it or whatever, and then later go back and remember to type that website in and go to that website for whatever it was. QR codes, first of all, can be a website, but they can be more than a website. So a QR code can be, first and foremost, it's usually a website. It could be just text, so when you scan it with the app, which we're going to get to in a minute, it can bring up all the text. So let's say you wanted to know, it was a picture of a new camera, and you wanted the description for that camera. You could scan the QR code and it would just give you all the text, give you the description. That's one use. Another use could be a business card. So you want someone's contact information. As a matter of fact, somewhere I have one of my business cards actually has a QR code on it. So it's obviously got the information written on the business card, but if you scan my business card with your phone, it will bring up my contact information in your phone. So you can just add it right to your phone. So anything with a camera, basically. So that's what QR code's for. It's just to give the user more information than they could have gotten, or faster than they could have gotten manually by typing in the URL and then manually having to go get all that information. Oh yeah, the Mac Group business cards, which you can get from the desk, have a QR code on it. Now this QR code just takes you to the website. But this could have been the website, it could have been the business card, it could have been anything. So that's what these are for. Now, let's talk about the app to use them. Okay, let me scan back out. And let me go to this app so you can see what I'm doing. How are they? I have no idea. I will go look it up though. Quick response code. Okay, someone just told me. I will get to that in a minute. I mean, how do you create one? Yeah, so. Even when you just go to Google and you do QR code, there's QR code generators all over the place. So you just go to one of the generators while I'm bringing this up. Put in whatever you want. So if I wanted to make a code right now and click generate, I'd have to create the account on this site. But there's my code in the background. They won't let me see until I create an account or do something weird here. But some of them just let you do it. You don't have to create an account. So let's go find another one. Duplications in what way?
You've got multiple generators. How do they know that?
It would generate theoretically the same code. Or a code that still works. So there's my code. I could download that graphic, and if you scan that graphic, it should take you to that website. All right, so it doesn't matter that there are 50 sites that make them. They should all be making the same code. All right, so how does this work? Let me bring up my iPhone here. Now, I have downloaded a couple different ones in the past. The first one I downloaded works great, but then I downloaded one that had more features in it, including the ability to even make codes right on your phone. So you could use your phone, your iPhone or iPad or whatever to make the codes and then email them to yourself or whatever. But I ended up going back to the very first one I downloaded because of one simple thing. Even though the ones I downloaded after could do more, I went back to the first one. You know why? Because it was the fastest. The other ones I downloaded worked, but they just weren't as fast. So the one I use is called simply Scan in the upper right-hand corner. It's a free one, free from the App Store. And when I launch the app, just simply call Scan. There it is. It's bringing up the camera and the phone. So if I hold it up to that code, so fast. The other ones, I'd have to hold it for a few seconds before it would actually do something. Now, the other thing I like about these is what if you're on a plane, or what if you're somewhere where your phone is not on 3G or Wi-Fi or whatever. Most of them, if they're any good, will let you still scan the code and keep it in the history. So the next time you are online, you just go back to the app and say, okay, now take me to that code, I'm online now. So you can scan them even if you're not connected per se with your device and still use it. So this one is a freebie. How do you get to it? I'm going to take you there right now. Sorry. Go to the App Store. That's where all good apps are. Search for Scan. In the App Store, there should be a search. Do I have iTunes down here? Do I not have iTunes down there? Oh, I do have iTunes. So to answer your question, Scan is my favorite one. And as soon as iTunes comes up, we'll go to it. Let me see the icon for it. I just want to make sure you're getting the right one. I can't see it from there. It's coming up right now. Yep, that's the one on the upper left corner. Come on, iTunes, where are you? All right, I'll do it from the App Store on the phone. So, App Store, search, Scan, and it's that one. That's the icon for it. Oh, whoa, okay, iTunes finally came up. There's the icon for it. So I have it already, that's why it's saying open, but if you didn't have it already, it would say download or get or free or whatever. I think it just says free. My favorite one. And there are others, they all work, but I like this one because it's the fastest.
Okay. How is that different from a barcode?
It is a form of barcode. The question was, how is it different from a barcode? It's a form of barcode that's just designed to work with these apps.
Usually you can do either one of these apps.
Yep.
If you go to the App Store, you have to have an account at the App Store, even though it's free.
You have to have an account at the App Store, even if it's free, and it could be a free account.
But what information do you have to give them to set up?
Name, email address, and address. That's it.
If you're downloading a free app for the first time, you don't have to give them the credit card information. You choose, give an option to do it.
Yeah, you can say without a credit card.
But you have to be downloading a free app.
Okay.
That option.
All right. Does that answer the QR code question? Any other QR code questions while we're on the topic?
I can't find one that looks like that. There's so many of them, and you just type in Scan.
I just typed in Scan.
I did.
And it's by okay, you might type in the name of the company, QR Code City.
Pardon?
The name of the company is called QR Code City, so try that one. Are you on your device or are you in the App Store?
Yeah, I'm in the App Store.
Okay, so iTunes, Scan, and there it is.
And then I had to put in my code, my password.
To download an app, yeah.
Download.
Right. You have to put in your iTunes password to download apps.
Oh, iTunes. So that one was
Right, the history is, again, if you want to go back and look at what you've scanned. Any other QR code questions? In the back. You can. Any other QR code questions? Well, it's just coming to show me something.
Is the very first picture there, is that actually just a binary representation of ones and zeros?
The very first picture of what?
The leftmost picture that shows the blue rectangle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a QR code.
Are the tiny little squares, is that binary? Like ones and zeros?
It should represent that. I don't know if that's what you're asking per se. So think of a barcode. It's a barcode ones and zeros.
But if you go to different QR code generator sites, it's not loading good today, but I make these for my customers.
Yep.
Come on. I don't know why it's not loading, but they're really cool. You can go to the generator sites. Different generators will give you different pictures with the little squares, and you can even put a picture in the middle. We have a needlepoint store, and I do them for my customers.
Yeah, I did see it briefly.
And
while
I
it was
don't know
coming
why
up.
it's not loading.
Yeah,
but I know, but the pictures, there's other ones on there, and they should come up. But,
So yeah, people can get real fancy. What you're saying is people can get fancy with their codes.
yeah, like I put a soccer ball in the middle of one for one of my customers, and your text I think it says, whatever the kid's name is. What's your name? We love you very much, Grandma and Grandpa. You can make it say anything you want. So it's kind of cool. Oh, there you go. There's a couple.
Right. So YouTube did theirs with the YouTube in the middle of it there.
Yeah, and this one's got a cardinal, and she's got a prayer on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it. You can print it,
So
and
there's
it's
areas that you
cool
can
to
put
make
on
like.
whatever.
Yeah, it's cool. Like if you want to make a greeting card and send somebody, it's like a cool thing to have because for kids, because grown-ups can't read them, they can't figure it out.
Oh, I didn't have the space with that on pixels at some point.
But if you go to the text part, you can say anything you want.
That one's kind of funny.
Mine is still loading. It takes a long time.
Well, it depends on the connection.
Oh,
Yeah. Everyone's downloading at the same time, so give it a minute. All right, so that is QR codes. That's what they're for. That's what, if you ever see those little things. Now, there are people, believe it or not, that love them and hate them, just like anything else. People just absolutely think QR codes are just dumb and no one should ever use them. And then there are people that use them every day. You can pick any topic and say that same thing about it.
I think those types of codes could have been generated from the military. I'm not sure 100%, but what I heard is that it's almost like a 3D code, meaning that a regular barcode that just has the vertical lines, if there's lines missing, the code is not good.
Mm-hmm.
But these, you could be missing a corner, and it would still be able to do it.
Right, and also with the regular barcode, you would have to scan it horizontally. These can be scanned in any direction. So even if the code is turned, your scanner should still scan it. All right, that was a good first question. Thank you for that. Thank you for that one. That covered a lot of ground. Next.
Yeah, I have a question about SSD drives.
SSD drives, got it.
I put one in my Mac about 2 weeks ago, and I came across an article about something called Trim Enabler. Do I need it?
No.
Oh, we're-
Can you explain?
It's helpful in some cases, but really for what it's going to be for the overhead, that sort of thing, it's really not necessary to turn that on as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen an instance yet in normal use, unless you're doing something where the drive is going to be, really bash like heck with a lot of writing and stuff like that. I don't see a real need to turn the trim enablement on. That's just my own opinion. You can do some more research and make your own decision.
Okay.
Trim is a must-have feature for solid-state drives. Not only increase. So, I've never heard of it, so I've never turned it on. Next.
Question about any best practices for keeping your Mac sort of clean, like any nightly jobs to run or.
Yeah. Best practices for keeping it clean.
Oh, man, you asked that.
Yeah, I know that, because that one, that could go down a,
Wash it once a week and wax
No, there's a, yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you, Mac Janitor. There we go. This is what I've used in the past. Could never remember the name. I haven't used it in a while. It's called Mac Janitor. And the idea behind Mac Janitor is you would run it regularly, and it could even be set to run daily, weekly, monthly, or all tasks. And it's kind of that utility that does go behind the scenes and cleans up little bits and pieces that the system isn't cleaning up on its own. But notice I said used to use it because I've just completely forgotten about it. I just haven't run it in a long time. So it's kind of one of those things where, does it help? Probably. Does it hurt if you don't? Probably not that you would ever notice. So anyone else have any, they do all the time kind of maintenance kind of things to keep their Mac clean?
Terry, didn't tell me to do something with the utilities and it make sure that if you go into
Disk per state or repair permissions?
yeah.
Yeah, repair permissions is kind of one of those things you want to do. Okay, so people typically do it after they install new software, update the OS, or they're having a problem. So those are, you just basically verify or repair the disk permissions. Here, I'll do it here while we're waiting. The other time, I don't actively go do it, but when it does get done for me is when I'm doing a clone backup, because I use a program called Super Duper. And Super Duper, one of the check boxes is when it does the clone, repair permissions first. So that kind of gets me to do it because I'm doing that backup regularly, and it just does it as part of that process. But I never think to go do it unless I'm having a problem. Problem, yeah. So starting up your computer, lots of different ways to start your computer depending on what you're trying to do. So the old PRAM trick was hold down Command, Option, P, and R keys while you're booting up, and it will chime the first time while you're holding those keys down, then it will chime again. And the old rule of thumb is that you would let it chime 3 times before you let go. So that would really, I guess, make it take, so to speak. But again, I haven't reset the PRAM regularly or unless I'm having an issue, and I think that might solve it. So what is that? What is PRAM and what does that do? I guess the best way to look at it is if you're having a problem that you think the computer or the OS is hanging on to something in memory that you want it to clear, like a setting or a sound, or like for example, one person lost their sound all of a sudden. Just no sound on the computer. All of a sudden, you hit the volume, hit everything, reboot, still wouldn't do it. Reset the PRAM. That's something like that would clear that up. So a lot of those they're good maintenance things to know, but I don't run them unless there's an issue. In the back. Command, Option, P, R. Those 4 keys. So the Apple key or the Command key, the Option key, the letter P, the letter R. And since I run my repair permissions not long ago, I didn't even find anything to fix this time, which is rare. Usually always has something to fix.
Going back to the scan.
Yep.
So if I see a scan, if I'm shopping or something.
There you go.
What do I do? Just
launch
take
the
a
app.
picture of it?
No, launch the app.
Oh, launch it? Okay.
And there'll be a little box.
There'll be a little box and put this in there. Here, you can.
Scan. Connect to Facebook. Connect.
No, you can say you don't have to connect to anything if you don't want to. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what do I connect with?
Let me see. I can't see the screen. You don't have to connect with anything. Is there a way to bypass all that?
Just hit scan, maybe?
Yep. Will it go past it?
Oh, I would rather sign up later.
Later, yeah. Because you shouldn't have to sign up for anything.
So, allow. Okay. So now there's a big.
Yeah, that's your camera. So it's waiting for you to
it
hold
is?
it at
Where do I hold it?
well, your finger's probably over it right now.
Oh. Oh, cool.
No, just when it scans it, it should beep and then do it.
Yeah, it's, now it's a blank screen.
It's loading the website.
Here.
You can have it.
Oh,
You play later.
that's great.
Yes. Go ahead. Wait, I can't hear you.
I'm a long-time Apple user.
Got it.
Started with AppleWorks,
Yep.
and it was put on my second computer, and it's still in my iMac, which is about 3 years old. And when I try to open something in AppleWorks, I get this little colored ball that moves around forever. And I'm just wondering, I'm using mostly now a Microsoft program, but I'm just wondering if that's a common problem. And that kind of ties in with another question.
All right, so to answer your first question before we get to the second one, his question was, he's a longtime Apple Mac user, he's had AppleWorks pre-installed on systems or it's been installed on systems, and now when he goes to launch it, he just gets the spinning beach ball. And does it ever launch?
It does, but see, a lot of my files are in AppleWorks.
Okay, but does it, when you said it spins?
It will, but it takes a long time. AppleWorks will start up and run on your machine. Yes, I think so. Is your machine an Intel machine or on Mac? Or that was a problem. I figured if I came and asked these questions, you'd find out how stupid I am. No. How old is you? I bought it about 2.5, 3 years ago. I don't think it's written Intel. It was right at the end. It would be. No, it would be. Okay. Yes, I did.
Do you know what operating system?
Machine is not going to run AppleWorks.
Well, it depends. Do you know what operating system you're running? Okay. Because didn't the Intel machines run AppleWorks before they cut out?
The Intel machines through Rosetta.
That's what I mean, yeah. So if he's on an old enough operating system that still has Rosetta, it would still work.
But if he's on Snow Leopard, it's not.
Right, it's not going to work.
Okay, the second question relates to this. I put in each of the new updates that has been offered by Apple, and also when I get a message that I need to update.
Okay.
And my question is, when you do all of that, is your computer really updated to what a new one would be, or is it sort of
No. Okay, so his question was, he gets the update notices regularly and he does them. So his question is, when he does that, is his computer updated to what a new computer would be as far as the system is concerned? And the answer is no. That's why I asked you earlier what your operating system was, and it's 10 something. It's probably 10.5 or 10, yeah, Snow Leopard's 10.6, right? So it's probably 10.5. So when you're getting those updates, you're getting all the updates for 10.5. And your 10.5 is the most current it will ever be when you do those updates. So a new computer would be running 10.8. And when that person gets their updates, they're updating 10.8 as far as 10.8 will go. Later this year, theoretically, Apple's going to announce 10.9. And then when people buy and install 10.9, they'll be running updates for 10.9.
Now, Mountain Lion, is that what it is?
That is the current one today.
Yeah, that's what I put in.
You put in Mountain Lion?
I think so.
If you put in Mountain Lion, then AppleWorks should not work anymore. Because at 10.6, so Mountain Lion's 10.8. At 10.6, Apple took out the thing called Rosetta, which allowed older PowerPC programs to run. So the minute you go to past 10.5, your older PowerPC only applications won't run anymore.
One more?
Yep.
For my iPhoto, for some reason, I have multiple pictures coming into iPhotos. I have like 21,000 pictures in there. And I probably should have about 8,000. What do I do? Other than going back and going.
I'm hesitating because I'm not an iPhoto user. If you have a bunch of duplicates in iPhoto, is there a search for duplicate feature or is it all manual? Okay.
And I think they took it out in the last version. Got the latest, because it seemed like a friend of mine in California was in last month. And I got
Well, here, let me launch it and see.
We had to get a third-party app to search for the duplicates.
All right. Edit. Photo management?
Well, it's a third party.
Oh, third party app. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't use this application enough to know. So if there was a search for duplicate feature, in theory, you'd be able to search for those duplicates by name if they're all called the same things and get rid of the duplicates. Other than that, I don't know of a way other than manually getting rid of them, meaning you going through and picking which ones to delete and deleting them.
Thank you very much. You should go to Apple support and search for remove iPhone removal. They quite often have full blown step by step instructions.
Well, let's just see what comes up when I Google it. I have a big library, 13,000 items. Scrolling through, I see duplicates. How can I do it? Yeah, here's a third party one that looks like it will search for duplicates. So all I did was, by the way, and this is how I always approach any problem that I don't already know the answer to, Google it. You know what it is? I think a lot of people don't think about using Google or search on the web because of how bad search was when it first started. You used to have to type in keywords and do a search. You couldn't just type in what you wanted to know. And search engines have improved drastically over the years, where you can type in a full sentence of exactly what you're looking for, and it will more than likely, 9 times out of 10, bring up multiple results for what you're looking for. So if you're ever in doubt, how do I remove duplicates in iPhoto? There it is. So whenever you have, and this is for any kind of problem, not just computer problems, anything I ever want to know how to do, I Google it, because what do I have to lose? Either it's going to come up with something or it's not. And more than likely it is going to come up with something I can use. So don't be afraid to Google it.
How do you know which one's best when they've got?
You don't know which one's best. You do have to look. Right. You have to look and see, well, I mean, it does take a little bit of, is what I'm reading making sense? Are other people agreeing with what is being written here? So you don't, like, for example, this first one that came up was, clicked on it because it was the first one. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best one. If I don't agree with what I just saw there, then I'll go to the next one. And then I'll go to the one after that. I'll just keep going until I do find the one that works for me.
The new doc would be DOCX, or the old doc would be DOC for Microsoft. Is it, I don't use Microsoft. Yeah. Old docs and DOC. It's the word process, right, it's docs, it's, you're right.
Hey, Jerry?
Yep.
In the past, for looking for duplicates too, I've used the shareware program called Graphic Converter, which is good for going through and finding duplicates. And it's also great for converting from any one photo format to another, like a JPEG, GIF, to TIFF, back and forth, and it's free.
Okay. Which one was the name of it again? Is it Graphic Converter or?
Graphic Converter.
I've used that in the past. Now, if it's a simple term like graphic converter, I don't want a million hits to come up because that could mean anything. So I'll say graphic converter Mac. So that means they know I'm looking for that specific thing or specific program.
They could wait till somebody won't overload.
It's amazing what you find on this thing called the internet. Go ahead.
You just took me to a page that reminded me of a question that I had. How safe is stuff that you get from CNET nowadays? I know that.
Well, on the
it used to be a
Mac
good
or
site.
Windows?
Okay.
If you go back a couple of screens, it shows how to get to the Apple file.
Not this one? Oh, you must mean over here? How to open a CWork or .cwk file? My AppleWorks 6 won't open. How to convert AppleWorks documents? Just ask.
Going back to the other question is, so you got download a program and you use it and then you don't want it. How do you get rid of them if you synced it with your iPhone, your iPad, and your MacBook Pro?
So, okay, well, that's two different questions. So you've downloaded an iOS app because you said synced it with your iPhone. So you've downloaded an app from the App Store.
Right.
Okay.
And it's either for the iPhone and the iPad.
Right. So when if you have your account turned on to automatically install the app on your phone, your iPad, and your computer, wherever you download it first,
yeah,
it will automatically end up in the other two places or three places or whatever. So if you want to completely get rid of that app that you're no longer ever going to use again, you have to delete it from each device manually because it's a one-way install. It doesn't uninstall from all the devices automatically. And so that's just a matter of holding down your finger on the app until everything starts shaking and tapping the X. So that will get rid of that app on that device. Then when you get back to your computer, in iTunes, which I don't have any, okay. Let me down, wow, I can't believe that worked. I could not remember that password. And I don't download apps on this account very often, obviously. Okay, so I'm downloading Scan on this device, or this computer. So now it's in my Apps tab. So all of my apps that I've ever downloaded will be there. And if I had it turned on, it would now be downloading it on my iPhone and my iPad or any other devices that are associated with that Apple ID.
So delete them on the others.
You have to delete them on, no, just delete them on the other devices. And then when you've deleted them off the other devices, come back to the computer, click on it and hit delete, and it'll ask you, do you want to delete that app from your computer too? That easy. So now, and it'll say, do you want to move to trash or keep it? I can't imagine a reason why you want to keep it. So move to trash, and now that app's gone.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
I'd like to know what Terry likes on these three items. Number one, converting 8 millimeters to digital. Do I need to tell Sync Converter to do that?
8 millimeter film?
Yes.
You're going beyond Terry. Terry's not ever had any 8 millimeter film to convert.
Sam's Club.
I'm not that old. So, I can't help you there. I've never done it.
Sam's Club.
Number two, we'll get into your age now. How about VCRs?
Okay.
VCR tapes to digital.
All right.
How do you like to do that? And number three, what type
Haven't
of
had to do that in a while.
What type of dictation software do you like best?
Okay, so the VHS to digital, technically I haven't had to do it in a long time, so I'd have to go, so in other words, what I'm telling you is how I used to do it, not necessarily what I do today, because I might use something different today. Back when I have done it in the past, I have connected the VCR up to my computer via one of the various connections back in the day. and just captured the footage right into Adobe Premiere, and then made a DVD from that. I have also connected my VCR up to my DV camcorder and captured it to a DV tape and then into the computer. Those are the two methods I've used the most in the past. I haven't had to do it. I haven't had a VCR tape in years, so I haven't had to do it recently. Now, the last one was dictation software. I take it you mean on your computer? I haven't used any in years on my computer, but the last one I used that I was happy with was Dragon. Go ahead.
Another way to do it is, recorder.
Ah, yeah.
And, what I've done is I've taken my VCR and connected the RC and whatever, puts on the DVD recorder, input, and then just started recording.
Yeah, because there are, I've had a couple older ones. There are standalone DVD recorders like VCRs. So you just plug the VCR into the back of it and put in a blank disc and record, push play on the VCR, push record on a DVD burner, and you're recording right to a DVD from the VHS tape. If you don't want to do any editing, correct.
They have units that they sell.
That have both in them, yeah. Right. So for those that didn't want to hear that, if you don't want to do any editing, they even sell them now that are both in one unit, whereas VHS on the left side and the DVD burner on the right-hand side, put the tape in, put the blank disc in, close it, press play, or press one button, and it'll start playing and recording at the same time. Again, if you don't need to do any editing.
That's related. You have a disc with material on it, and you want to edit it. How do you take it off the disc?
Okay. So that's a more common one, and that is one that I have done more recently. Do you have, before I answer that one, do you have another comment on the tape?
Elgato makes a device that you can plug into.
Correct.
Into the computer and into the VCR, and it will transfer.
Elgato is a company that is a longtime Mac company for making connections and gadgets for doing these kinds of things. So they make a connector that lets you connect like a VCR to your computer. That's as far as it'll go. Yeah. So lots of ways to do it if you're still needing to do it. All right, so back to this question. So this question is, now what if you've got a disc? Your own DVD, your own footage, we're not talking about copyrighted material, and you want to get that movie off that disc back into the computer to edit. How would you do that? For that, I use a program called Handbrake. Handbrake. Handbrake will let you put in a or actually it will do both, but it will let you put in a DVD movie and convert that movie into video files on your computer, MP4s. And then you can edit the MP4 in a program that can edit MP4s. I would use Premiere, that's what I use.
What program would you use to edit?
I use Premiere. Yeah. But iMovie, I'm thinking, should be able to edit those as well.
Have you done Handbrake on 10.8?
I'm not. Or, yeah, I have actually. I have done Handbrake on 10.8. It's a free program, great program. This is the program I used back in the day when I wanted to convert all of my purchased movie DVDs to digital to serve up on my Apple TV, my computer, my iPad, my whatever. So I no longer have movie discs anymore unless I bought them on fairly new on Blu-ray, which I rarely do. So all of my 300 plus movies, Handbrake converted them, and they're now on a hard drive. They're on a hard drive, not this hard drive. Yes. What's the extension on Handbrake? Oh, FR. Yep. What he's looking for is the URL. So handbrake.fr is the site. Yes?
I have a question about a backup problem that I have a couple times.
Okay.
I use like ChronoSync
Yep.
to copy stuff to a Drobo.
Okay.
And I've had some problems with like read-write permissions. While it's doing the transfer, it'll actually stop and wonder if I don't have permission to copy that folder.
I've seen that.
Is there any way around it other than just going in and manually fixing that folder?
Unfortunately, I don't know of a way of globally doing it that would be safe. So his question was, he's run into issues copying files. He mentioned a program called ChronoSync, which is a great file copy syncing utility that I've used in the past as well. But the problem is he'd run into the same problem even if he was doing a Finder copy. Sometimes you're copying things from your hard drive to another drive, and during the copy, it hits a certain file or a folder, and it says you don't have permission to do that, or you need to authenticate to do it. So you do have permission, but you have to put in your password. And he's asked, is there a way to like globally say, hey, yeah, I want to copy all these, just do it. I don't know of a way to tell it to do it for all the files without you setting the permissions for all the files up front, which I don't recommend because you might be changing the permissions on things that you shouldn't change. Now, the other way around it is instead of using a copy or syncing program, use a cloning program. So Carbon Copy, SuperDuper, those programs are geared to clone versus copy, and therefore they're cloning with permission.
With a Drobo, have you experienced any problems with this causing the permissions to change?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm taking, on my iPhone, I'm taking some videos and taking photos, and then I have the set for iCloud to automatically put the photos on to my iPhone.
Yep.
So, is there a way to either get the videos to also go, or to get the photos to delete after they go on my computer? Because I have to go back. I want to clear them from my phone when I'm done, and I have to search through and find, which ones were videos, make sure they got on, and I have to go on and put them on separate, and I have to go back and find which one, and I want to make sure that they're made into iCloud, so I don't delete them if they didn't get there. Is there a way to clean my phone up afterwards from video? Is there a more automated way? Before I had iCloud, I used to just say delete from device after I download the one. Now I don't know.
So his question, I got it. His question is, he takes pictures with his iDevice, his iPhone, iPad, whatever. He's got it iCloud sync turned on, so therefore his pictures are automatically getting uploaded to iCloud and then down into Aperture or whatever he's using. Number one, it doesn't do videos. Number two, it doesn't remove the photos after they've been synced up and back down again, so they're still on the phone. So is there an automatic way to have it delete the photos for iCloud? No. Is there a way to have it do the videos for iCloud? No. Not that I know of. So what's the other alternative? There is no easy answer for that. What I mean by that is all the wireless solutions I know don't do the cleanup after. So they will all wirelessly bring up all your photos, and some of them will do videos for you too. But they will still, all of them, leave them on the phone when they're done. Dropbox, PhotoSync, all the ones I've ever done. The only way that I know of deleting them in mass when you're done is physically plugging in and using image capture, select the device, select all the photos, and hit delete. I don't know of any way that. Well, no, if you turn off iCloud, this is afterwards. If you've turned off iCloud, I mean, if iCloud has already synced them, then what you're saying is you want to delete them off the device then. So use image capture, not to capture them, but just to delete them. So image capture, here, let me launch it. And I don't know if I have a cable.
Once in a while, a photo doesn't make it from iCloud. But if like this, and then just don't get there.
That's a different problem. If you're having ones that just don't get there.
Get lost in heat.
Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is plug in. And I keep my phone pretty clean. I don't have really enough room for a ton of photos that I'm taking. So let me see what I've got on here first. Okay. And here, let me take a couple. Oh. Helps when you actually use the camera. There we go. And we'll even do a pano. All right, so I've got a few photos on here now. And I'm going to bring up image capture. Now, before you do this, you'd make sure they got synced up to whatever you're syncing them to. I don't use iCloud for this, I use Dropbox. So I would go into Dropbox first. Go to the tab for the photo syncing. It says there are 3 left to sync. Image capture is on your hard drive in your applications folder.
Are you sending your photos to Dropbox from your
I am using the Dropbox app. The Dropbox app for iOS, you can turn on automatic sync of photos that you take with your phone. And it will automatically upload them if the app has been opened recently, which mine had not. All right, I'm going to let that go. And now we're going to plug in the iPhone. Because I'm running image capture, it should see it as a device. The keyword there is should. Oh, iTunes is running also, sorry about that. And so is iPhoto. So it's also, you can't be running other apps that can take over the device either. So let me make sure the other apps have been quit out of. Let me try this again. There we go. So the pictures that I've taken, I could say I don't want any of these, or I could say that I want to import those. But if they've already been uploaded and they've already been imported, I don't need to do it again, then I can just select all of those and I can just click the delete button. And so you can manually say, oh, but I do want this one, or I do want the pano. Keep that one on the device. So that lets me do a group delete fast without me having to go through one by one on the phone and tap on them to check them all to delete. So if I say delete all those, delete 4 photos permanently, those 4 photos are now gone off my device. And the only one left is the pano. And I can now say import the pano to the desktop. And I can say delete after import. So now that's been downloaded to my desktop and deleted off the phone. So I love image capture for that kind of quick file management from an iOS device of pictures and stuff that's been captured. Because I don't have to worry about putting them in a particular program. I can put them in a folder. I can delete a bunch that have already been put in all the other places that I need to put them in, or delete them if I've already used them or sent them to people. I don't need them on the phone anymore. And where I use that more often than not is with, not so much with the iPhone, but with the iPad. The iPad's great because it's got this camera connection kit, so you can bring in all these images off your DSLR or your regular point and shoot cameras. But the problem is once you brought them all in and then you transferred them to your computer eventually, there's no group select delete off the iPad. So you'd have to go through one by one and tap on every single photo to tell it to delete it. I don't do that anymore. I just plug the iPad in, image capture, select all, delete. Quick, fast, done.
I tell you, I happened to see you got that Apple TV 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Apple 3. Can you tell me the difference?
I saw it too. I'm trying to remember where you saw it. Oh, here, here.
Or maybe it wasn't you.
No, you saw it here. That's because I was going to say I saw it recently as well. So what Handbrake gives you, and once the screen comes back up, it gives you presets, which is the next screen. Next screen. There we go. Presets for what you want to convert the movie to, be compatible with. So I could say make it Apple TV compatible, so it'll make it a higher quality. If the movie was already HD, keep it HD for the Apple TV.
Well, can you tell me how Apple TV 3 is different from 2?
How is Apple TV 3 different from 2? Both, or 3 is 1080p and 2 is 720p.
I see. All right, thank you.
Yep.
And you can use a keyboard with the 3.
And you can use a wireless Bluetooth keyboard with the 3.
My computer is running slow at times, and I noticed that I used to keep my computer on all the time, and now I shut it down and restart it, and that seems to help for a little while, then it starts to bog down a little bit. So I'm seriously considering to reinstall my OS. I'm very afraid to do so.
Okay.
Any recommendation as far as step
Before you okay, his question was, he's noticed his computer is running slow. When he reboots regularly, that helps versus keeping it running all the time. He's thinking about reinstalling his OS. Before you go through the trouble of reinstalling your OS, let's analyze some of the things that might be making it run slow in the first place. So how much RAM do you have?
It's probably what it came up with from before.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
And what programs do you run regularly?
It's usually Office, Microsoft Office, and some pictures, iPhoto and video.
Okay. You're probably doing what most users do, and that is you boot up your computer one day or in the morning each day, whenever it is, and you launch a program and use it. Then you go do something else, and you launch another program and you use it. Then you go do something else, and you launch another program and use it. And you keep launching all these programs without ever actually quitting out of them. So with only 4 gigs of RAM and keeping 2 to 3 programs open at one time, that means now those computers have run out of real memory and they're having to use your hard drive as a scratch disk or virtual memory back and forth. Correct. And that will be slower than real RAM. So reinstalling your operating system is not going to solve that. Buying more RAM would.
The other thing to check.
Or quitting out of the programs.
Well, usually on my app, bar at the bottom, I don't have that many open at once. Like I don't have like 20 apps.
Do you have 3 open?
Pardon me?
Do you have 3 open?
Which one?
3 open at one time?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, so here's the way to look at it. Today's apps, on an average basis, probably run in 1 gig of RAM each, especially when you start talking iPhoto and Office and Word and Excel. So having 3 of those open is using 3 gigs of RAM, leaving 1 for everything else.
How many started logging?
Right. I mean, just what I'm saying. So we think, well, 3 shouldn't be a lot. Well, it is for 4 gigs of RAM. It's not a lot for 8 or 16 gigs of RAM. And it really depends on those 3 programs. And also, with iPhoto, the more pictures you have, the more RAM it's going to use. So iPhoto itself could be using 2 to 3, depending on how many photos you have in it.
The other thing too is check the hard drive space.
That's another good one too.
Well,
The
yeah.
hard drive
I
fleet.
ran into that and then I expanded that, and it's still showing some sign of slowing down.
Yeah, because you need, it used to be, they recommended 10%, and now I think they're 20% free.
Free space, yeah, I do have.
10%.
Is there an easy way to remove those, like double clicking at on the button for your phone and iPad to close the ones on the computer?
Yeah, just quit out of them. So what have I got running now? I've got Chrome running, which is my web browser. I got Reflector running, which is the program I was sharing my iPhone screen with. The little white line is telling me what's running. I got PhotoSync and Creative Cloud running. So if I don't need PhotoSync, I can just right-click or control-click on it and say quit PhotoSync. And now that program is no longer running and now off the dock because it wasn't saved to the dock. So if I launch Photoshop, which is going to use, 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6 gigs of RAM, and I keep it running in the background, even if I'm not using it, it's still running, it's tying up that memory. So when I go to do something else, if I don't have enough RAM, I'm going to see a slowdown. So I would just go here and quit.
Hey, Terry, are we getting too geeky if we suggest maybe you might want to open up the activity monitor and see what's going on there?
Sure, why not? So there's a program on your Mac called Activity Monitor, and that will show you all of the processes or applications that are running. What I like to do when I think it's running slow is sort this by memory, and it will show me which one's using the most. My web browser right now is using the most, which is not using a ton, but it's using the most right now.
On the files that are on the desktop.
Yeah, we went through that last month. So having a ton of stuff just sitting on your desktop, yeah, so that was last month's tip. That was good.
One other thing too, last month when, who did the,
Getting old, Calvin?
yes, getting really old, not Klein.
I just stalled until I remembered the name. Dave McGuire.
When Dave McGuire did the thing, one thing he mentioned about was more memory in your machine. And right after that meeting, I went and I bought more memory for my iMac. I had 4 and I took it up to 8. My God, the beach balls disappeared. All sorts of things disappeared.
Yeah.
So the extra $50 I spent was well worth the investment. And the other side of that is that also change your habits. If you really don't need to have that program open, close it, quit it, and that sort of thing. But adding that memory makes all the difference.
Oh, speaking of having old programs open that you don't need to have open and quitting them, a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name, was complaining that his MacBook Pro was just never really giving him a lot of battery life on a plane. Like he'd be on a plane and get lucky to get 2 hours. And I was thinking, I used to have that problem back in the day when the batteries were quoted to run 4 hours. I would usually only get 2. But I haven't run into that lately. I mean, the newer ones, I'm getting easy 4 or 5 hours worth of battery life on a flight. And then I asked him, I said, what do you have open? And he started listing, I might have my mail open and I'll have Photoshop open and I'll have whatever. And I said, are you using Photoshop when you have it open? Well, not all the time. A program like that not only is using RAM, but it's also using processor. Even if it's just sitting there, sometimes it's just using the processor or tying up the processor just to sit there. So that's going to drain the battery faster too. So if you're trying to get more battery life out of your computer on battery, quit out of stuff you're not using because it frees up the memory, frees up the processor. And that's going to therefore increase your battery life. And there are all kinds of other tips like dim the screen, turn off Wi-Fi, turn off Bluetooth, turn off things that would drain power as well. But just having those apps open in the background is going to use more battery life than not having them open.
I have a question for you. Have you migrated your operating system over?
Yeah.
For the first time in years, I did a clean install. I can't believe how fast the machine is.
I wrote about that and have said it many times. Okay. All right. So we'll do the clean install talk in 2 seconds. Let's get these 2 out of the way first. If there are different questions or whatever.
Is that the same reason you had so many programs running at 2:39? You were moving your screenshot to trash? and it was still running at 331.
Because I was emptying a lot of stuff. That's different. That was a different problem. Off a very slow device, yeah. That's different. It had nothing to do with this.
And it took an hour to get all the stuff you had?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I decided to try my hand at views, and I tried to build a little website. I made my master page, I made my 4 or 5 pages.
All right, I'm going to table that one. Let's get because that one's going to take a minute. So let's get this one out of the way first, and we'll come back to the news question. Short one?
Yeah, how do you get that thing?
Activity monitor. Applications, utilities. Or just, by the way, whenever you see me launch something, you rarely see me go dig through the folder and try and find it. If I know what it's called, it's easier for me to hit Command Spacebar to bring up Spotlight and just start typing activity monitor. Oh, there it is. Hit return. It's launched. So I know where it is because I just remember where it is. But if I didn't know where it was, 9 times out of 10, I'll just launch it from Spotlight, and I still don't know where it is because I don't care. Okay, so now, clean install, then Muse. So clean install, like many of you, over the years, I'll get a new computer, new operating system, new whatever. And I'll say, okay, brand new computer out of the box, old computer still here with everything on it set up perfectly just the way I like it. I don't want to, oh my God, I don't want to have to do all that over again. Plug in a cable and do a migration, because that's one of the things Apple asks you right off the bat. Start up a new computer, it says, do you want to copy stuff from your old computer? Great, you'll do all that for me? Perfect. Plug it in, let it go, done. New computer's up and running, just like the old computer. Just like the old computer, right. So every file I have ever had, every program I've ever deleted that left stuff behind, everything, every preference I've ever set that I don't even use anymore got copied over. And you do that 3, 4, 5 machines later, you've just got a mess on your hands. You're basically just running with a ton of stuff you don't need. So my last 2 computers now, I have taken the liberty of saying, okay, let's think about it today. How hard is it to start from scratch? And what I mean from start from scratch is just don't do the migration. Okay, operating system's already on it. It's going to ask me if I don't say copy everything, it's going to say, well, do you want to set up a new account? Yes, Terry White, this password, log into my iCloud account. It's going to walk you through all that. Okay, so now, once it's walked you through all of that, you're sitting there with a brand new machine with the latest OS on it. And I would then go run the updates to make sure it's the latest, in this case 10.8.3 or 10.8.4, whatever. Right, I do all the OS updates. Okay, so now I've got a machine with the latest and greatest operating system, my account information on it, my iCloud information on it. What's missing? My applications and my documents. Okay. Applications. Well, those I know it. I will get to that in a minute. Let's talk about my data. My data is pictures, documents, movies, whatever. Where do I keep all that? Well, Apple gives you a nice documents folder. I don't keep anything in there anymore. I keep everything that's mine in my Dropbox folder. I bought the extra space on Dropbox because they give you 5 gigs, whatever, for free. But I bought back then 100 gigs, and now it's, because I was grandfathered in, it's like 200 gigs now for the same price. I pay it annually. I use Dropbox as my documents folder. So everything I put in Dropbox is automatically synced up to the cloud. That means I kind of got a backup of it. It's also synced to any other computer I'm running Dropbox on. And when I install it on a new computer and say go, all my documents come down. Okay, that solves that problem. They're all on my computer now. All I have to do is install one program, put in my password, and Dropbox will start syncing everything down to the new computer. Except pictures, because they're too big to put in Dropbox. So I have to copy my pictures folder over. Okay, done. Now applications. I run the Adobe stuff, Creative Suite, Creative Cloud, whatever. I run the Apple stuff, the iWorks stuff, the former iLife stuff is already on there because it's a new computer. I run a few utilities here and there that I download anyway. And so I'm going to go download the latest versions of those. I keep all my serial numbers in 1Password. So if I ever need a serial number to install something, it's right there. Click away. I can copy and paste it right into the application. So it takes me half a day at best to get everything back on. But now it's all up to date. It's all the latest and greatest, and it's all just the stuff I use. Because I'm not going to waste time going back and installing things that I don't use anymore. Why would I? And as Sheeta pointed out, not only is the machine so much faster, but I got back like 100 gigs the first time I did it of space. When I compared the two hard drives, the old one to the new one, I was like, well, everything's on here that I care about. 300 gigs used, 200 gigs used. There was that much junk on the old computer that I had been collecting for years and years and years? Yep. So I ended up every time with not only with a new computer, but a real new computer, one that felt new because it only had on it what I use.
You would do something similar if you were to just upgrade to the new OS system?
Now, the new OS,
originally what I was talking about, which is just wipe out the
right.
computer and load the new OS.
I don't necessarily do a clean install for a new OS because the later new OSs kind of do it for you. They don't wipe the hard drive, but they don't upgrade the old folder anymore like they used to. They install a brand new OS folder. So that's why I kind of don't think about doing a clean install just for an OS update anymore, because they do a better job installing the OS than they used to. Now, could you? Yeah, you could take it upon yourself to back everything up, wipe the drive, install the new OS from scratch, and do the same process I just recommended, which is put everything back on clean. And then you will have the cleanest possible OS and computer you can have. But I just haven't found enough of a reason to do it, unless by the time that new OS was coming out, like 10.9's coming out probably this fall or later this year, if I'm having problems around there that are kind of mysterious, kind of don't know what's really going on, can't really fix, I'll probably take it upon myself. Oh, it's a good opportunity. 10.9's out, buy 10.9, install it, and do clean. Go ahead.
I'm not sure how you wipe it. So I have the same operating system I want to reinstall.
Okay, so how do you wipe clean? You cannot wipe, I cannot bring up disk utility and say erase this drive because this drive's running. So the way I wipe clean is I do a clone backup, which you're going to want anyway. So I clone to an external hard drive, and since we always say this, but we never actually show it, so let's show it. I have many externals, but I carry this one. This is a 1 terabyte portable drive, USB 3. And somewhere in here is a USB 3 cable. That ain't it. Oh, I found it. I don't do a good job of it. Okay. All right, so USB 3, because my computer has USB 3 ports. Plug the drive in. Could be FireWire, it could be whatever your computer supports. Oh, phone's already plugged in there. All right, so plug in the drive. Now, if I were really going to do this clone for real, like I'm just showing you the process, but if I were going to do it for real, I'd log out right now. Almost even reboot, but I'd log out for sure. And when I log back in, I'd put in my password, hold down the shift key and hit return or enter my password. Because when you hold down your shift key when you log in, that tells it not to start up any startup items. So it just logs you in, but doesn't launch, whatever things you have launched in the background. That way, you don't necessarily have anything running that could interfere with the clone. It's just a recommended procedure for cloning. All right, so then I would launch SuperDuper. And since I've not launched it on this user, it brought up the little help thingy. I'm going to go ahead and unlock. Oh, I don't have it registered on this user either. But I would put in my serial number. All right, we'll do that later. And then I would say from the hard disk to hard disk backup, copy now. And there are options. This is where I tell it to repair permissions. So it's going to do that thing I rarely remember to do anyway for me. It's going to repair the permissions. It's going to basically make a duplicate of this hard drive onto this hard drive, everything. Operating system, apps, documents, it's going to be an exact copy. And then once that copy's done, which depending on how much data, speed of your drives, could take anywhere from 20 minutes to 4 hours, depending on your setup. Mine, normally to do an update takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Once that's done, I would restart the computer, hold down the option key, and it's going to pop up all the drives that I could boot from. I'm going to say boot from this one. So it's an exact copy. I'm booting from it as if it were the computer's main drive. Once it's booted up, then I go into disk utilities on this drive, which is the applications folder it should be using anyway, and tell it to reformat the internal drive. And then I'd run the OS installer while I'm booted from that drive to install the OS on it or clone back onto it, however you want to do it.
Is that process described somewhere? I mean,
well, I'm sure someone's written about it. How to do a clean install on a Mac. Say that again. So, I would have downloaded it from the App Store. So it would already be cloned onto this drive. So in your application, when you go to the App Store and you buy the latest OS, so if I want Mountain Lion, when I go buy this, or in this case, download it, since I've already bought it, it's going to download it and it's going to be an application in my applications folder called Install macOS 10 or Install Mountain Lion. Actually, it's going to be Install Mountain Lion. Since I cloned the whole drive, that's going to be on here. So when I boot from this drive, I'm going to go into the applications folder after I've reformatted the internal drive and say Install Mountain Lion. And it's going to install it onto the new drive fresh. And then from there, copy over data, install applications, or actually the other way around. Install applications, then copy over data.
After your clean install, when you're up and running on your new computer, do you attach your old time machine to that new computer? Or
do I start a new one? I tell it to continue with that computer because I want the history. I want to be able to go back in time and still get the old stuff if I ever need to. So his question was, when you have set up this, let's say you bought a new computer, your time machine backup's not going to really automatically know that that's the same computer. So it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to back up to your existing time machine backup? Is someone trying to show me something?
That's me, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. So it's going to ask me, do I want to use my existing time machine backup or start a new one? And that's your choice. You can say start a new one, and it'll still keep the old one on there if you ever want to go back in history, but I like keeping it all as one. So I'm going to say use the old one and pin this one onto it. Go ahead.
I have a laptop with a time machine and backup drive that I don't keep turned on all the time.
Okay.
I decided I want to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling me we can't do it, but it's also telling me that there's space on it.
When it's saying it can't do it, why? It can't do it because of?
If I remember correctly, it's saying that there's no space, which is why that's on my mind. So what do you mean you can't do it? There's enough space here for you to do it. Even if I was of the understanding that if there's not enough space, it will start pushing stuff off the other end.
Yep.
And I'm wondering why I want to do that.
Are you using that time machine drive to back up any other computer?
No.
Just the one.
Just that one.
And is your time machine backup drive as large or larger than your internal drive?
It's the same size.
And you do have it turned on to delete old backups?
I don't know.
Okay. So in your time machine preferences, there is an option to, where is it? Actually, I don't want to notify. Or did they now make that the default? Okay, the oldest backups are deleted when the disk becomes full. So just open up your preferences and make sure it says that. And I can't think of any, can anyone think of any other reason why it wouldn't work? Drives are the same size, not using it to back up another computer.
It might think it's a whole new backup, and there's not enough space.
Yeah, is it trying to do a whole new backup or is it trying to update?
I've seen that happen a couple of times.
Okay.
The same computer?
Anything new about the computer? Anything new about the hard drive? The internal, not the external.
Try rebooting the time machine drive itself.
Turn it off and turn it back on.
No, yeah, because the only reason I could think of that it would say it wouldn't have enough space is because it's trying to do a brand new backup from scratch. Which, if that's the case, pardon? Because at some point it may have lost the connectivity to the old backup, or it doesn't think it can update it. So it says, well, I can't update that one, I'm just going to make a new one. And it's saying, oh, I don't have enough room to make a brand new one and keep the old one. That's the only thing I can think of.
I just actually have something similar to that. And I was backing up an existing 1 terabyte drive, terabyte and a half drive. And after the meeting we were talking about reorganizing things, I moved my files around. And I moved some data files from one location to another. And at that point, when I tried to back up, backups failed because it said I needed 660 gigs and I had only 580 gigs available. And what it was doing was trying to duplicate all these files that I had moved because they were down at different locations that are referencing that.
Right.
So that may be another thing.
Another thing I want to point out, since I've still got this open, a lot of users don't realize that in the later versions of Time Machine can now use more than one drive, if you want to. So that means that Time Machine in and of itself you plug in the drive, it'll back up to that drive forever and make room, and if it's working properly, do all those great things. But by having you now be able to, like, for example, so I'm backing up to 2 Time Machine backups, one I haven't done in a while. But what it's saying here is my latest backup was today before I left the office, 12:48. My latest backup to this one was on May 9th. This is an external drive in my suitcase, my physical suitcase, not the application suitcase. So my physical suitcase, I keep an external backup drive with me. They're cheap, why not? So if I'm on the road, I can still do backups. I don't have to come back to the office to do a backup. And more importantly, if I lose a file on the road, I don't have to come back to the office to do a restore. So you can add multiple Time Machine backups, and it will, if they're both plugged in at the same time, it'll just alternate between them automatically. But if they're not plugged in, whenever you do plug in the next one, the one you haven't used in a while, so when I plug in that drive that's in my suitcase, the next time, it'll automatically go to that one and do a backup. So that way I can have not only multiple backups, but I can have one off-site. I could have one at a parent's house or sibling's house or, or children's house. And that way, if something ever happened to my computer and my main backup, fire, theft, whatever, I still have another time machine backup somewhere else that I could always restore from.
Time machine, is this a Cronus-like product, meaning
No.
that it does a system? Just data?
It does everything.
Cronus is a clone product, so Super Duper and Cronus would be similar, where Time Machine is a different product.
It's a different product, but to answer his question, Time Machine does back up the entire computer. So if the entire computer crashed, you could restore your entire computer from a Time Machine backup.
Going back to the clean install, a couple of questions. For example, authorizations, they get deauthorized
Yep.
on one and reauthorizing. Things like iPhone may be synced to your iTunes on the old computer.
Okay, so let me answer those in a nutshell. I used to do that and worry about that a lot more late in the early days than I do today, and here's why. He brought up actually a couple good points. iTunes, for example, you can only, for your DRM protected songs, if you still have any, or movies, if you still have any, you can only have 5 machines authorized at a time. So if I'm setting up a brand new computer and I'm copying over everything, that old computer at some point I'm going to want to deauthorize in iTunes so that I can authorize, if I've used my 5, authorize on the new computer. So iTunes is one clear example where you want to deauthorize and reauthorize on the new computer at some point. Some applications, again, only allow you to install on so many computers. So you're going to want, if that's the case, you're going to want to deauthorize on the old computer before you go to the new one. Or as long as you still have access to the old computer, you can go do it at any time. But think about that before you wipe that old computer clean or sell it or get rid of it. Make sure you've deauthorized all the applications on it before you wipe it. And the other one you brought up is a good one, iPhone. But I don't worry about the iPhone one anymore because I'm never syncing the iPhone directly to iTunes anymore. I'm doing it to iCloud. So that used to be one I used to have to worry about, but I don't anymore. Because my iPhone isn't tied to iTunes anymore. The account is, so as long as I log in with the same Apple ID, I'm good. But the device is no longer tied to it anymore.
What about all the Adobe apps?
Adobe apps, well, it depends on what versions you're on.
Well, I'm on
Creative Cloud, it's just going to do it automatically.
So you just do it new, but you have to deauthorize.
You don't even have to deauthorize. You can, but you don't have to. Creative Cloud is smart enough now to know that you can only have 2 authorizations. When you go to run your third one, it's going to say, hey, you can only have 2. You're going to click OK, and it's going to automatically, behind the scenes, deauthorize the old one.
What about Lightroom? The data folder, I'll call it the metadata folder?
The catalog. The catalog.
Catalog. And that's basically all your information.
Right.
Then you have to relink to all.
No. As long as everything's called the same, it should be the same. So if my hard drive is still named the same hard drive, if my folders are in the same places, Lightroom's just going to work.
So they're all on external hard drives in my case.
It's just going to work. Because you didn't change the names of anything. Okay, and I'm using 2-way authentication, so it just sent me a text message. So that even if you had my password, right, you wouldn't be able to log in without the one-time code it sends you. So now I'm logged in. And those are all my Dropbox folders. I don't know where the plans are because I don't use this. But now I'm curious. I want to get here. Let's do it this way. Dropbox plans. Here we go. This is what I wanted. Pricing. So it's either pro or business. You're going for pro. Yeah, not business. This is the one I currently have, which started out as that one. Actually, yeah, I have this one now, but it started out as only 100. It was 50, 100, 250. Now it's 100, 200, 500. So this is my current plan, which is 200. So that would be for 500. I don't know what that price is because I currently have it. Here, let me log out and see if I can do this. No, well, give me the price for the one I already have because I already have. I don't want upgrade. I want pricing. There we go. So $199 a year.
What if you choose not to continue the plan?
Well, they're on your hard drive. They just wouldn't be synced to Dropbox anymore. So if you ever decide to not use Dropbox anymore, keep in mind, Dropbox is on your hard drive. It's a folder. So if you ever decide, I don't want it, I can't connect, I'm offline, I'm on a boat, whatever, the files are still in that folder. If you say cancel it, the files are still in that folder. They're just no longer syncing.
Okay. Where do you keep your pictures?
In my pictures folder.
In your pictures folder?
Mm-hmm.
On your computer?
On my computer. Until they're no longer current, then I move them to my file server.
Okay. And a quick one, on my phone or on my iPad, phone's easier, here, super expert. I want to rearrange, I've got 5 or 6 pages of apps. Can I automatically arrange them alphabetically?
No. Her question was, on your iPhone, she's got 5 pages of apps. She wanted to know, can she automatically arrange them alphabetically? And there's no way that I know of to do that automatically. But if you're going to do a lot of arranging,
yes,
it's better to not do it on the phone. It's better to actually do it on the computer.
Okay.
When you plug your computer, when you plug your iPhone, God, I just keep doing that all day. Stop yanking that cord. All right, let's quit out of this. And when you plug in your device, 100 gigs is $99 a year. You can also do it monthly, but it's cheaper to do it a year.
Do you have to type your notes on an iOS device?
Nope.
Manually.
Now, before we leave Dropbox, there's one more thing I decided to pay for after I needed it one day. I decided to pay for PackRat as well. I didn't buy this originally, but I bought it since then. What's PackRat? As the name implies, unlimited undo or undelete. So for $39 more a year, if I deleted a file 6 months ago, I can still go get it. Why did I do that one day? Because I deleted a file one day and I was like, oh.
It was worth $39.
It was worth $39 to go be able to do that again. Yeah, if you changed it, if you updated, you hit save by mistake, you can go get the old one.
Hey, Terry?
Yes.
But since the file is in fact on your hard drive, you can still use tools to recover it that way too.
Right, and if you had a Time Machine backup, you can still get it from Time Machine. But in my case, smart me said, why back up the Dropbox folder with Time Machine since it's already being backed up to Dropbox? So I excluded that folder from Time Machine.
Oops.
Yeah, that was an oops in that case because it was like if I'd had Time Machine, I could still got that file back. So but even with Time Machine, eventually that file is going to be gone because it's going to run out of space and start deleting old backups. This isn't. So how this works, you're going to send me the 6-digit code for my security.
That's pretty nice security.
Well, it is. It's a bit of a nuisance when you can't get a text message, but otherwise it's great. And I can say trust this computer so it never asks me. All right, so if I go to, let's go to apps, drivers, and settings, because I know I've deleted things from here. And I go to the TTG folder, which is a set of plugins I use, and I go here. I could say, show deleted files. And it shows me all the files that were ever in that folder. Ever. And I can go get them back. They're not in that folder anymore. They're not tying up that space on my hard drive because I deleted them. But Dropbox is still keeping track of them because of the pack rat feature.
Because you save money by using a 200 meg account, only keeping 100 meg in and deleting the 100 meg, so that's still available there. You pay for 200 and get 500.
It doesn't matter because you're going to still, the pack rat's 39 extra. So whether it's 100 or 200, it doesn't matter. You might as well only buy what you need. No.
Jerry, are you recording this for the site for the blog?
I am.
Are you aware that you're actually messing the numbers for those Dropbox boxes that come up on the screen?
They're one time. They'll never work again. Right. That's why a different one came up the next time. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's called, by the way, that's called, if you ever get a service and they offer, what's it called? Two-way or two what?
Two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication, thank you. That's giving you the ability to use your username, which most people can guess because it's usually your email address, a password, which people can hack. But it's tying it to a phone number that you have, your device, with you at all times. So even though I put in the right username and the right password, it sent me a third thing, which was a text message, a 5 or 6 digit code that was one-time use that I type in with that username, password, and that number to get me in that one time.
I wasn't aware of that. I just figured I'd let you know.
Yeah, no, but I'm letting everyone else know what that means, that two-pass authentication or two-factor authentication. So now when I log out and log back in, same username, same password, it's going to send me a new code. So Dropbox does it, Gmail does it, and Apple just started doing it if you can sign up for it now with your Apple ID. So if you don't want your iTunes account compromised or you don't want your credit card compromised on iTunes, you can sign up for that extra bit of security so that no one can use your account without knowing that number that just got text to your phone. And since Dropbox has a lot of my files in there, I don't want anyone getting into my Dropbox account. Right. So I will log out. And yes, sir.
I had some pictures that I shared. I thought they shared one folder with others, the pictures of Dropbox.
Okay.
And to my surprise, you can access all the folders I had in Dropbox. Is there a way to just share one folder?
His question was, is there a way to share one folder? Because he shared a folder and then to surprise found out that people can access other photos than what was in that one folder. They shouldn't have been able to. Because when you
don't share folders, you assign.
Right, that's what I mean. So were there folders in a folder? Like did you share the main folder and they were able to get to a subfolder? That might have been it. Yeah, if you shared the main folder and you were thinking people would only get to a specific subfolder, then they got to everything because you shared the main folder. So share a specific folder with just the photos you want, and they shouldn't be able to get to anything else.
Thank you.
Yep.
I use my Mac to put a Wi-Fi signal to my house. I need to change the password.
Okay.
Go to system settings.
Yes. So if you're using your Mac, so your Mac is your base station, basically. Then in that case, it's System Preferences, Show All, and Sharing. And you're using Internet Sharing. And if I turn that on, which I don't think it'll let me do it, but it did. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I figured it wouldn't. Yeah, no, don't do it. Stop. Okay. So you're sharing basically probably from an Ethernet connection.
Yeah.
via Wi-Fi. That's what I was looking for. Then your Wi-Fi option should come up here, and this is where you would change the password.
What was the step just before you got that?
So on internet sharing, you're sharing your connection from. So you can only share a connection from one type of connection to a different type of connection. So I can share from Ethernet to Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi to Ethernet, but not Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi. So I would pick my Ethernet connection in this case because I want to share it over Wi-Fi via this computer. And I would make sure Wi-Fi is checked, and then that will bring up this button.
Okay.
So Wi-Fi options is where you would go put your new password in, or a password. Yes. Hi, how are you?
This is probably a really simple and stupid question, but I bought a new computer. The other one was 6.5 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't realize there were multiple different passwords because I guess when I sign on to the computer, I don't have to sign on, and I don't have to sign on to my email because it's at home.
Right.
It's a desktop, it doesn't go anywhere. But then there's an administrative password.
Correct.
I don't know what happened, but when I was in the store buying it, it had all kinds of comments for over an hour, and I ended up having to change one of the passwords, I guess the administrative. But then when I went to use it later on, it's seeming like it's not working, so how many passwords are there?
There could be lots. So there's, her question was around passwords for those of you who couldn't hear it or on the recording that couldn't hear it. And she's basically asking the question of how many passwords are there from the standpoint of there's a login password or administrator password. There's a password for your keychain. There's a password for your iTunes account. There's a password for your email. There's a password for lots of things. So it really just depends on which password you're having a problem with as far as best way to go reset it. Can you get into the computer with no problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for instance, I was on my iPhone and I saw there were a bunch of apps that needed upgraded.
Yep.
So I went to do it and it said password.
Right. That's your Apple ID password.
Or iTunes.
Or iTunes, but same thing. And you could have multiples of those, but more likely you probably only have one. So that's your iTunes / Apple ID password.
Apple ID is different from administrative?
Yes. They could be the same, but more than likely they're different.
You know, it was at one point,
Yeah.
and after I had all these problems, I'm not sure which one it was, the key, and I ended up having to change. So now I'm probably better off just resetting everything.
I would probably say it's probably about time anyway, especially if you were using the same password for multiple things.
Well, he also told me that there was something at some point it had changed where on the old computer it still works, but he said now they upgraded it, so you need like a capital or another sign or something.
Yeah.
Number.
Passwords, as far as the level of security, companies are now upgrading them to, they have to be more strict, meaning before you could just put in a simple word, all lowercase. Now in many cases they want an uppercase and a number and a symbol. And they want it to be a certain length, so it can't be short. So this is all for your security because it just makes it that much harder for someone to guess what it would be. And there's an app for that. So, I originally bought this app years ago for iOS because I thought I was pretty good on my computer. I didn't really need a password manager on that. Ha ha ha. And but I wanted to be able to have my passwords with me. So I bought 1Password for iOS back then. And it was great. I could go to launch the app, type in the one master password, and then see all my accounts and tap on each one and get the password for each account. And then it dawned on me, it's like, oh my God, this would really be more helpful even on my computer. So I went ahead and bought the Mac version of it as well. And I could not imagine life now without 1Password. I just couldn't. If you said, okay, we're going to delete everything off your hard drive and you get to keep 3 programs, this would be one of them.
Do you keep bank passwords and other things like
Everything.
And they're totally secure?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, here's why. We're creatures of habit. We're creatures of path of least resistance. And age. So, in theory, most of you probably, if you're not doing strict password management, you have 1 or 2 or 3 passwords. And you use those 1 or 2 or 3 passwords for everything. Because you can remember them, right? So you use that password for your email, you use it for your bank account, you use it for your whatever, and you might vary it a little. You might stick a number after it. You might put a symbol in the middle of it. You're laughing because you know I'm telling the truth. You might put a capital letter in it somewhere. You might even put it, if you're smart, put it backwards. Oh, they'll never guess that. And all the things I'm talking about, and I'm not a security expert, I could guess. So imagine the people out there that are spending all day guessing.
That's their job.
That's their job, right. I'm just knowing what I'm thinking you're doing, trying to be secure. So when it hit, and luckily I have not had any security breaches to date that I know of. I've not lost any information, my identity, passwords, bank accounts, or anything to date that I know of. But it hit me one day, and I think I was being forced to change my password for something. And it was before I was using this. And I said, oh man, now I got to remember the 4th password, you know. Right, well, yeah, I got to forget. But I didn't have to forget one because I want to use that same password that I've been using for everything. And then it hit me. My email address is not rocket science to figure out. So if anyone ever guessed that password, what would they have access to? A blank stare on my face. I turned as white as I could possibly turn. And it just really dawned on me like, oh my God, if someone guessed that password, they'd have access to everything.
Well, they have access only once it had your email address as the ID.
How many things was that? Lots.
I got lots of things that don't.
I know, but I'm just saying, enough.
Yeah, enough to create damage.
Right, enough to create a lot of damage, and they'd have my email. Be kind of easy to go through my emails and find other usernames. So that's when I took it upon myself to say, I can't take that chance. So I take that back. I had just started using 1Password, but many of my accounts were the same password. And I did a search, which 1Password's great for that. It lets you actually search for passwords in the application. So I could search for that 1Password I was using, and it brought up all the things I was using it on. And I went account by account and changed them. Logged on to the accounts with the old password, reset or create new password, and it's got a password generator built in. So it will generate a long password no one human will ever guess and you will never remember. And insert it and remember it in the app. So now when I go to one of these sites that I need to use a password on that I'm never going to remember and not even going to try, I click into the password field, I right click into the password field, and a drop-down menu comes up, and I click on 1Password. A little box comes up, I type in my master password, and then it automatically, since it sees the URL, knows what password goes with that. I click a button, it puts it in. So I still don't know what it is. And it doesn't matter, because it's putting it in that one time I need it on that one site.
So it selects the password for
If you want, it can generate passwords for you. If you want to create your own. For me, it's easier to let it generate a random one.
Will that work with two-factor authentication, or doesn't that mean?
Well, two-factor authentication is two-factor authentication. It's going to be, my Dropbox password is one of those long, stupid passwords I'll never remember, but I'm still going to get the code from the phone.
I have a question. How do you feel about the bad boys that generate passwords to get into an account?
Say that again. Generate passwords to get into an account.
Bad boys, they have
Oh, okay. What?
a program that generates passwords, millions of them.
Right.
But how can they do that when I try it and I make mistakes? I I'm done.
Okay, so his question was, how are they doing this in the first place? You've got these hackers that generate passwords, and he says when he types it in wrong twice, he's locked out. So how are they doing it? Most of the theft that goes on happens one of two ways. Your password is one of the 25 most commonly used passwords, like password, or backup, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or one of those other ones that everybody uses, and they use that, or the theft is happening on the back end. Meaning it's an inside job. And they're not on a website typing it in, they're just grabbing all the data.
Actually, there's a third way, if I could add to that.
Sure.
Social engineering. They trick you into giving it to them.
Right, phishing. So you get an email saying your account balance is now $15,000 for your AT&T bill. Oh my God, no, it can't be. Log in, let me see why. And that site's not real, and you go to log in out of panic, and now they've got your real password.
That's why 1Password is good, because if it's not the correct site that you originally generated the password for, 1Password will say, I don't recognize this site.
Right.
I'm not going to fill it in.
Right.
How complex is your 1Password password? Exactly.
Very. Yeah, no, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's easy. That way I can remember it. No, since the master password is one you have to type in, and you will be typing in regularly, it's one that you need to be able to remember. It can be anything you want, but you're going to have to remember what that sequence of letters and numbers is. So mine's pretty strong, I think. Mixture of capital, lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers. But it's in a way, it's using terms, using words I've concocted together that no one would be able to guess. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't be hacked, but no one would be able to guess it.
If you have to access certain sites, not on your computer, but from some other computer, you have to know it's on your phone.
That's why I keep it on my phone. That's why I did this in the first place. So my entire 1Password account is synced to my computer and on my phone and on my iPad. So if I'm anywhere, I can always bring up that password. My software serial numbers are in there. Bank accounts, credit cards, passports, all that's in there. So that I never have to think about where is this stuff. And as long as I keep it secure and keep that one, and by the way, the file is data encrypted. So even if somebody hacked and got the file, it's using, 448-bit encryption. Good luck breaking into that.
Can I come over with the program and ask you a question?
Oh, about Muse. I'm sorry. You should have reminded me sooner. Yes.
With two-factor authentication, you have to designate one item as a trusted device. Does that have to be a phone? Can I designate this?
It can be a separate email address, but of course that's less secure.
You couldn't send me that 4-digit code on iMessage?
No, because they don't use iMessage. Apple probably could, but no one else would.
Do you have a casual opinion on LifeLock?
Do I have a casual opinion on LifeLock? I've used it before. I paid for it, I think, for the 1 year. I'd never renewed it because they themselves were getting into trouble by what their theory was, or their method was, that in order to keep your identity safe, they would constantly bombard the credit tracking agencies with requests, and they were getting tired of it. So I never found out how they got around all that, doing it that way, or what they're using now, and I just never followed up on it. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but they needed a newer method than what they were doing.
You can get it.
Is the price worth it? Depends on how much you value your identity. You know, I could say yes, it's worth it, or no, it's not worth it, but that may be different for you.
What does this cost?
1Password's like, I think on the App Store it's maybe $20. So for your Mac, it's maybe 30 or 40.
On that credit thing, if you want to save money for less than what you would pay for LifeLock and get better results, go to clarkhoward.com and look up credit freezing. you can freeze your credit where nobody can do anything with it until you unlock it or unfreeze it.
You can do that by calling credit reference.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what LifeLock was kind of doing a lot of that for you, but they were just doing it too much where credit agencies got tired. All right, so here are the passwords for 1Password. We're out of time. You're going to give me that? Okay.
And we have a few magazines left.
M-Secure, yeah. I've heard of that one too.
Is that a one-time price?
It's one-time price.
Or a year?
Nope, one time. These are one-time application prices. So you're buying these applications.
1Password 3 for Mac, that will get it on all 3 devices or whatever?
No. It's separate for a separate price for each device. So you'd have to buy it for your Mac and for your iOS devices. Now that you only have to buy once, and it'll go on your iPhone, your iPad, and everything else. So if you want it on your Mac, it's $50. You want it on your iOS devices, it's whatever that price is in the App Store. And let's give away a few things. So, was this a good use of your time?
Yes.